Hey, hi. How are you? Welcome. Oh my gosh, you guys, welcome. It's the 10th episode today. Number 10. I can't believe. Well, actually, that's not really an astonishing number. It's pretty small, actually, but I think it's pretty cool that I've made it 10 episodes. Um, Welcome to episode 10. You guys, the world is wild right now. So welcome to escapism. Stars. I need to like a soundboard so I can add in like sparkles. Uh I'm not that cool or techie. I don't know. But the world's wild, right? We can all agree, no matter where we are in the globe, the world is pretty crazy. There's a lot of stuff happening everywhere. So that's why we do what we can, right? To help. Also, free Palestine. Ooh, please. Oh my gosh. Man, y'all. Anyway, but we can do what we can, right? To help. But we bubble down, as I've been calling it. And when things bubble up, I like to bubble down and remember and be grateful and try to like ground myself in my day to day. So that includes this and that includes you guys and just like diving into research and, thinking about life and history and all of the things. But also, side note, I've been doing like a lot of 3D printing lately. I have a 3D printer. I don't know if I've ever mentioned that. But I recently just made, oh, by the way, I love people who create things and then post them on the internet for me. Not for me, but, for everybody. STLs, oh, beautiful. 3MFs, beautiful. I really prefer STLs though. But just the files, 3D print files, I love them so much. And I recently printed a game called Brick Break. I can't remember who posted it. I think I found it on printables.com, but I found one called Brick Break. And it's got a frame, like a square frame with an open top. And you have these tiny little bricks that you put in and you make like a brick wall. And then on top, you have like a buddy of some sort, essentially like a Humpty Dumpty, right? I think this is a replica. I don't know. But you have like a Humpty Dumpty on top where you want to take turns pushing out bricks to not drop your buddy at the top. Well, my buddy is a positive potato. So I printed a little positive potato. And it's just so cute. I love that I can like customize it to whatever I want or however I want it to look and just silly stuff like that. Anyway, I've been holding a lot of tension lately. Again, we talked about the world briefly at the beginning, but I've been holding so much tension. It's in like the base of my skull at the back and into my shoulders and neck. But I was really proud of myself. Stretches are great, everybody. Do stretches. I was really proud of myself that like I should start doing yoga. I get sidetracked. I'm sorry. You've been warned. If you've listened to any of my episodes, you know. But I should do yoga. But like I'm really proud of myself for being able to just sit and this isn't to sound braggy, but I came from a really, really rolling ball of anxiety. And now I'm really this person and I'm grateful for that. So I'm not bragging, I'm just really grateful. But the fact that I can sit and I'm able to listen to my body and feel my body. And like I just close my eyes and I do my stretches really, really slowly. And I just like listen to my body on how I should move. And I did that for probably 15 minutes when I got home from work. And it really, really helped. Like a lot, actually. I don't think that I'm like an amazing person because I know how to stretch, but it was really cool. I'm happy that I'm capable, like able-bodied enough and of sound mind enough now to that I can like relax and do that. So just do stretches. If you're ever like tense and stressed out, especially now, do stretches. Hear me out. Okay. Just like take 5 minutes and just listen to your body and just do some stretches. Doesn't matter. Whatever. Or don't. I mean, I guess it's fine. I am bevied and baked as always, by the way. I have my little vapey boy with me today, my treehouse vape. And I have a soda stream that my, oh my gosh, my voice, that my beautiful husband brewed for me, made for me. I don't know how you would say that. I thought Soda Stream was such a great idea for my household because we drink a lot of like Diet Coke, right? Or Coke Zero. And yes, water, I know, blah, blah, blah. I get it. I have a doctor. We talk. Okay. But we drink quite a bit of soda. And I was like, Soda Stream, it's great because you're using water, right? I mean, like all fucking soda does with water and syrup. But I was like, you can control how much syrup you're putting in. So you can make it less sweet and use less sugar. You can still get the diet options, all that. Turns out I'm way too lazy for that. I would rather drink water. I can't describe it. Yeah, I would just rather drink water. I can't be bothered to make a soda. I don't know what it is. I can be bothered to brew coffee. I can be bothered to do so many other things, but that, nope, I don't know. I don't know what it is. So my dear husband, he's so sweet. He, will just do it for me because it doesn't bother him. And, in order to save money sometimes, and also if we run out of soda, he'll make me one. Anyway, I have a Soda Stream, Dr. Pepper, or Dr. Pete, and my treehouse vape. So if you hear my vapes, that's what I'm doing. So you know what I'm doing. Because we be bevied and baked here. Or at least I do. If you're driving, don't be baked. But yeah. Should we talk about some stuff? Also, I like immediately when I'm like, let's get into it, I'm like, whoa, wait, I have other things to say. This is, again, why I think I have ADHD, and I don't know why my psychiatrist doesn't believe me. But anyway, I could be wrong too. Maybe I don't. I could be wrong. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a psychiatrist, and I'm not trained in that manner. So I also just could be wrong, but I just feel like I have it. Like, you just know, Okay. Deep breaths. Side note that I was getting to before my point. I have vacation next week. I also have something I'm going to do next week. I'm not going to disclose what it is or the location because, again, I'm like trying to do this under the radar from my day job. But I have an event, but that's going to be like 2 days. And then I have like 5 full days off. So hopefully I'm going to get so much research done, and I might just bust out a bunch of episodes next week. So keep that in mind with this episode. And if you have time before next week and you listen to this before next week, drop a comment and let me know maybe some stuff that you want to listen to, like stuff that you want to hear about, but you don't necessarily want to do all the work, right? I can just deliver it to you. Isn't that cool? You could just be like, oh, I wish I knew more about the Great Pyramids. And I could just be like, here you go. And I'm not AI. I'm like a real person who has flaws, and you can listen to my flaws. And that's kind of fun sometimes, right? Okay. Oh my gosh. We're like almost 10 minutes in. I haven't even mentioned, I don't think, what I'm talking about today. And that is, I'm going to talk about Al Capone and his soup kitchen, actually. I'm going to talk about a lot of Al Capone, not in like immense detail. And it is going to be surrounded a lot around like his charitable endeavors. So this is not like an Al Capone episode, if you want to know like very specific details about his life. However, This is a quick overview episode of Al Capone and what he did in the communities that he lived in. Surprisingly, like shockingly. I think that's why I chose to do this episode, because I was, again, just browsing Reddit like I usually do when I get home. It's like my chill, like wind down activity. I don't know why I'm explaining myself to you. I don't have to. It's my life. Am I hurting people by being on Reddit? No. Well, no, because I'm not a mean person who makes mean comments. Some people hurt people on Reddit. Ugh. But I was browsing and this popped up where it was Al Capone's soup kitchen. And I was like, what? So I dived in deeper and went into, there was an article on history.com. And of course, there's Wikipedia pages and all that. And then a couple news articles. But we're going to talk about Al Capone and his soup kitchen. But yeah. Again, I'm not cutting out all these awkward brain glitches that I have, because everybody has them, you know, and I don't need to be perfect. That's okay. It's okay that I'm not perfect. But yes, first of all, you read the title. Obviously, that's how you got here, is you had to click on a button to get here. You read the title correctly. And if you didn't want to hear it, you're going to hear it again. But we're going to talk about Al Capone and his soup kitchen, if you want to. Totally, mutually, and respectfully, of course. Okay? Are you ready? All right. For being public enemy number 1, Al Capone at least threw some good out into the world, and I can vibe with that. I cannot condone his behavior, of course, but he did throw some good out into the world alongside all of the, you know, crime and murder and prostitution rings and all that stuff. I'm going to tell you guys about his soup kitchen. He opened it during the Great Depression, and he opened it for the unemployed. I'll get more into that later, but I do want to touch base and refresh us all on who Al Capone was. I know about Al Capone, or like I know about Al Capone, but through basically media that I've seen, you know, movies. I haven't really watched any like documentaries or anything. I'm sure I've learned a lot of information in my course of life. However, I don't walk around with Al Capone facts in my mind, okay? So bear with me. We're going to do a little refresher. So I'm going to talk about just kind of who he was too, alongside his soup kitchen stuff. And we're going to talk about that first, actually. I don't know why I sighed. I'm not like, oh, what a drag. I'm not. I don't know why I sighed. I think it's because I get lost and then I get frustrated with myself on where I'm reading on my page. All right. So who is Al Capone? And why did he open up a soup kitchen to feed the most in need out of just sheer humanitarian aid? Let's unpack. But like in a cool mom kind of way, right? Let's unpack. All right, Al Capone. His full name was Alphonse Gabriel Capone, which I didn't know. I didn't know his full name was Alphonse, or I think it's Alphonse. Or maybe I knew it, but I forgot. Again, I digress. But he was born on January 17th, 1899, and died on January 25th, 1947. So I think it's pretty safe to say that whatever I say in this episode is in fact not too soon, okay? Al was born in New York City in 1899 to Italian immigrants. Al had 8 siblings, which is crazy, but also totally believable for that time frame. Like I was shocked when I saw 8, but yeah, I get it. It was the early 1900s of it all. When Al was in school, at a Catholic school, mind you, he was apparently expelled at the age of 14 when he hit a female teacher in the face. At the age of 14. Damn, Gina, chill. Daddy, chill. But anyway, as a young teenager, again, expelled from school, not a lot of activities to do. He joined a gang. Like, Avi, what the hell else are you going to do in the early 1900s, you know? Clean poop? Run around in a gang. Why not, right? Just kidding. I don't want to be insensitive because I don't really actually know a lot in depth about the conditions or characteristics of the neighborhoods or cities at that time in New York. I do know a little bit through my experience. I went on a trip to New York and I saw Ellis Island. That was absolutely fascinating and honestly heartbreaking to experience. When I was there, I kind of felt like an ungodly heaviness. But I was also just very in awe of the endurance and tenacity of immigrants to enter this country that way. I have like nothing but respect for those who went through that process. If you have seen what that process looked like, I have nothing but respect for people who made it out on the other side. A lot of them, my relatives. So, side note, Al was, side note, I think I put side notes in my notes for me, but then I say, side note, Al was also known by a lot of people as a quote unquote modern day Robin Hood. This was because he was so charitable, like actually so charitable. This is of course until the St. Valentine's Day massacre, where 7 people from a rival gang were straight up shot, like murdered in broad daylight. So yeah, that kind of changed his image after that, which is sort of the only image I know of him. So that's also why I was so intrigued to learn more about what else went on besides all of that awful, you know, all of the awful things he and his associates did, right? So Al started a small-time gang, or he started in small-time gangs, but eventually moved on to the Junior 40 Thieves. Junior 40 Thieves, by the way, Junior 40 Thieves. Wild name. And the Bowery Boys. He was in that one. He then joined the Brooklyn Rippers, which is a badass name, and landed finally at 5 Points Gang, which was based in Lower Manhattan. During this time, he was also working with a guy named Frankie Yale. Frankie was a bartender in a Coney Island dance hall and saloon called the Harvard Inn. This is where Al, apparently unintentionally, insulted a woman and got slashed with a knife 3 times on the left side of his face. This is where, again, if you've ever heard of Al Capone, you've probably heard the nickname Scarface. This is where he got that nickname. He really hated that nickname, by the way. Apparently his friends called him Snorky, which was a term that basically meant like sharp-dressed man. But he hated the nickname Scarface, of course. But that is where he got it. I guess he would also try to hide his face, or like the left side of his face, in photographs. And when people talked to him about him, he would call them his war wounds, which, I mean, I guess in a roundabout way, I don't know. In 1919, Al moved from New York to Chicago and became a bouncer in a brothel. Psh, typical. A lot of people think this is where he caught syphilis, and that he knew about it, but never sought treatment for it, which was a very big mistake. You'll learn later on. Okay, this is also where Al teams up with Torrio. He was the head of an Italian organized crime group, essentially. It was the biggest group in Chicago, and Al became the second in command. When Torrio died, Al took over. Also, another quick side note, during Prohibition, Capone was involved with Canadian bootleggers who helped smuggle liquor into the United States. I don't know why I keep mispronouncing Capone, but when he was asked if he knew Rocco Perry, which was Canada's king of bootleggers, he replied, "Why? I don't even know which street Canada is on." Like, that's kind of badass. That's kind of funny, right? I mean, that's kind of funny. All right. Other sources claim that Capone had certainly visited Canada, where he maintained some hideaways, although the Royal Canadian Mountain Police, the Royal Canadian Mounted Police states that there is no evidence that he ever set foot on Canadian soil. I mean, maybe they were just like, I'm not dealing with that on a Thursday. Are you kidding me? No, he was never here. All right. So Al was also running the big organized crime thing, right? This is also where he was opening his soup kitchen. So picture winter of 1930. It was particularly cold and just honestly a very awful time. This was the Great Depression, so resources were already incredibly sparse. A lot of people were unemployed. And it was just this brutally cold winter where thousands of people would huddle and wait in line in order to reach a large sign that said free soup, coffee, and donuts for the unemployed. Like, can you imagine? I think about this, and maybe that's why I picked this topic too. Like, there are thousands, 3 times a day, in the elements, in the brutal winter, waiting for food. Food. Just for that. Like, I think it puts a lot into perspective for me when I open the fridge and I'm like, oh, there's nothing to eat. Like, there is. Oh my gosh, be grateful, people. But also I think about how I could just never be rich as a person. Like, I'm not that person. I'm too giving. And I know that sounds like braggadocious in the words of Gavin Newsom. If you haven't followed him, oh, he's so funny. But my husband both loves this and hates this about me because I at one point kept buying dish soap, and like I would think we were out when I was at the store, and I would just be like, oh, I have to get dish soap. And I don't know if I was missing it when I was putting it away or just like blindly putting it in the cabinet. But we ended up at one point with like 6 unopened bottles, like big bottles of Dawn dish soap. And I quite literally just started offering them to guests. And I ended up successfully giving a few away. But to which my husband says, hey, I don't know if you know this, but like that shit doesn't go bad. So yeah, I don't know. I'm just that person. Like, do you need something? I got you. Like within reason though too. Like, I still need to survive and afford my weed. Like, you cannot have my weed money, okay? But pretty much anything else is yours. It's yours. I don't know. I don't care. It's just stuff, right? I have one life on this earth and one body, and that's all I own, essentially, right? But anyway, Chicago. Reports say that these men waiting in the line that we were talking about before I got sidetracked were not your quote-unquote run-of-the-mill homeless individuals. They were men that were well-dressed and jobless. Not that that makes a difference. I think if you're in need, you're in need, and you're deserving of aid. However, it was sort of shocking to the community is what I meant. Like, seeing well-dressed in suits men waiting in line for hours for food 3 times a day. The Chicago Tribune was one of the first that reported the surprising news that the mysterious person who opened up this soup kitchen was none other than the city's king of all things vice. Capone's soup kitchen served breakfast, lunch, and dinner to an average of 2,200 Chicagoans every day. One of Capone's associates told a Chicago newspaper that Al could not stand to see those poor devils starving, and nobody else seemed to be doing much, so the big boy decided to do it himself. Like, that's kind of just dope, actually. I'm not forgiving his other behavior, but wow. Like, this is the type of stuff that I want to do in the world. I have so many dreams on the ways that I would help people. But hey, I have to work a full-time job and be a mom and be just poor enough to not be able to afford starting that journey. Love that for me. But I can start here, right? I can bring joy and hopefully some calm and maybe laughs. I don't know. You can laugh at my weird stuff. Hopefully I can bring some joy and good to the world with this. All right. So picture women in white aprons. They would serve coffee and sweet rolls for breakfast, and then they would serve soup and bread for lunch, and soup, coffee, and bread for dinner. No second helpings were ever denied. No one ever needed to prove their need. No one was ever questioned. Like, this is just beautiful. I don't know. It just means like the means of how he got his wealth were questionable. Yes, awful. But the fact that he could do like philanthropic, I don't know. Wow, that word is really hard right now. But he could do that, also, which I think is really cool. So the kitchen served around 350 loaves of bread, 100 dozen rolls, and 50 pounds of sugar and 30 pounds of coffee. This was each day, by the way, and it cost roughly $300 a day. So that's about $9,000 a month, which Al could afford since they think he was pulling in around $25,000 a month. But like, still, it's actually a pretty substantial part of his income. Like, I don't like, okay, but they do kind of think that maybe he was not being so nice and extorting the businesses or bribing them to donate the goods, which I kind of believe, but I hope he wasn't doing that. But yeah, I mean, that's really just quite a lot of money out of your daily income or your monthly income to just feed people. Also, fun fact, Al had planned a traditional Thanksgiving dinner for that day in the United States, which if you don't live in the United States, Thanksgiving Day is in November. But this traditional meal was going to be turkey and cranberry sauce. However, his plans were totally foiled because there was a local heist of 1,000 turkeys. Al was not responsible, but he did fear that he would be seen as the culprit. So he, like, imagine being like, no, it wasn't me, but you're serving a bunch of turkey the next day. He decided to switch the menu and he served beef stew for Thanksgiving in 1930. Al was also known to give money and handouts to widows and orphans. He also was kind of viewed, before the massacre, of course, as someone who was just nice to the common man by giving them beer and booze when the government decided to ban it. They were like, hey, he's a nice guy. He's giving us our booze. He's fine. Leave him alone. When the government failed to feed the people, Al did. In a note from the Bismarck Tribune, it says, a hungry man is just as glad to get soup and coffee from Al Capone as from anyone else. And that's valid, right? Like, if I'm going to get it from anybody, I don't care who it is. If I'm getting fed, hell yeah. Mary Borden had a quote in Harper's Magazine that said, an ambidextrous giant who kills with one hand and feeds with another. She pointed out the irony that the line of the job list often walked past the city's police headquarters, which housed the evidence of the violent crimes that were carried out by his order. None of those would get him, though, by the way, his violent crimes. Al would end up being imprisoned in November of 1931 for income tax evasion. Apparently, due to him having good behavior, Al was allowed to play banjo in the Alcatraz prison band, the Rock Islanders, which performed regular Sunday concerts for the other inmates. And also while imprisoned, his neurosyphilis began to worsen and progressively erode his mental capacities. His formal diagnosis of syphilis of the brain was made in February of 1938. Al was paroled in 1939 after his wife, May, appealed the court based on his decline and reduced mental capacity, which she won. He then traveled after a stay in the Baltimore hospital to his mansion in Palm Island, Florida, which I didn't know. Yeah, I didn't know he had a mansion in Palm Island, Florida. I'm gonna have to go. I'm gonna have to go see it. Is it still there? I don't know. Are there pictures? Ugh. Why don't you guys know these things? All right. In 1942, he saw some hope when penicillin was making its rounds and mass production began. He was one of the first Americans to receive it, actually. However, this did not reverse the brain damage to his brain, but it did slow down the progression. He was examined by a psychiatrist, and it was actually concluded that Al had the mental capacity of about a 12-year-old near the end. And like, that's really sad, kind of. Like, imagine being his wife and watching him go through that. But at the same time, he knew. And like, I think I read in the articles that there was a drug at the time that like you could use to treat syphilis. Like, they had a drug to treat it, but he just refused treatment. So like, I mean, I hate to say it, but like, he didn't have to end up that way. But yes, mental capacity of about 12-year-old. And then Al Capone later died. He had a few bouts of cardiac arrest after a stroke a few months earlier, and he passed away on January 25th, 1947. It's wild. That's wild, y'all. That's all I have to say about that. It's crazy. But yeah, I just thought it was really shocking to see. For me, like, I had never heard of the fact that he had a soup kitchen and he did so much other community work, or like not work, but did a lot for like, quote unquote, the underdog to, like help out people who were really in need. Whether or not he did that nicely, I don't know. But it did happen. So there's that. Like, he got a lot of people through a lot of hard times, and maybe it was selfish. I don't know. Maybe he was like, oh, the more people have to spend money. Well, I don't know. I can't claim to know. That was like almost 100 years ago at this point. My gosh. Also, I had no idea he was born in the 1800s. Granted, it was 1899, but I was like, whoa, that's a long time ago. A long time ago. All right. Anyway, I hope you guys have such a good time wherever your time is right now on the clock. Day, night, afternoon. I hope the weather's nice wherever you are. Or I hope it's raining if you've really needed rain. I don't know. I think maybe one of my next episodes I'll do another tarot reading. Should I let you guys request tarot readings? Man, that'd be kind of fun, actually. You could like request it and then I could do it at the beginning of the next episode. I don't know. If you want to do that, you can comment down below or email me at reneepakspod@gmail.com. That is RENEPOX. Nope, that's wrong. That's wrong. I'll have to link it in one of the descriptions. Don't quote me. Okay, don't email that email. You're going to get I don't know. Maybe it doesn't exist. Okay. I love you guys. If you haven't heard that lately, I love you. And you deserve good things in life, whether you think so or not. I know it's hard to think sometimes that you deserve good things, but you do. No matter what. Well, okay. So, not no matter what. But hey, nobody deserves like bad things, right? It's illegal for me to say anything else. Okay,